When I married Nolan Vexler, I thought I was marrying stability. He was the kind of man who spoke with quiet confidence, always neatly pressed and tailored suits, always one step ahead in his career. To everyone else, he seemed like a dream, a financial consultant with an easy smile, a loyal husband, a man who had it all together. What they didn't see was how control disguised itself as care. How "let me handle the bills" slowly became "you don't need to worry about the finances." How "I'm just trying to protect our future" became "you don't understand how these things work." I wasn't naive, at least I didn't think I was. I had built a modest career of my own as a freelance copywriter. My income was sporadic, but it gave me independence. I trusted him with our joint accounts, our investments, our taxes, all the adult things I didn't have the patience for. He'd smile and say, "You write the words, I'll handle the numbers. That's balance." It took me 6 years to realize that balance was the illusion he wanted me to live in. The first sign came subtly. A letter from our bank arrived one afternoon while he was on a business trip. Usually, he'd intercept the mail before I saw it, saying he'd file it properly. But this time, it slipped through. I opened it out of habit, expecting something routine. What I saw made my stomach tighten. A notice about a large transfer authorization, dated the previous week, moving funds from our joint savings to a new account I didn't recognize. When Nolan returned, I asked casually, "Hey, I saw a notice from the bank. Did we open another account?" He didn't even blink. "Yeah, for tax purposes," he said smoothly. "My accountant suggested it. Don't worry, I'll walk you through it later." Later never came. I wanted to believe him. You don't spend years building a life with someone and assume betrayal overnight. But something had shifted. His business trips became longer. His phone stayed face down, and he developed a strange new habit, locking the home office. I started noticing patterns. Every Sunday evening, Nolan would spend hours working in that office, always asking me to give him space. Sometimes I'd hear faint whispers of his voice through the door, low and urgent, like he didn't want anyone to hear. I told myself it was just work stress. Everyone has secrets, right? Until one morning, a notification popped up on my phone from the shared family calendar. It was titled, "Meeting with Divorce Attorney, Nolan V." My heart dropped so violently I felt dizzy. I opened it, praying it was a mistake. But there it was, the name of a high-profile family lawyer, the date, the time. He'd forgotten to remove the shared sync on his Google account. I sat frozen for a full minute before my body caught up to my brain. Divorce attorney. He was planning to leave me. But that wasn't even the worst part. Attached to the event were digital notes, property details, account numbers, valuations. He wasn't just leaving me, he was planning to take everything. When I could finally breathe again, something inside me went very still. The kind of calm that isn't peace, it's precision. I didn't cry, not yet. I just thought, no, not this time. That evening, I played my role perfectly. When Nolan came home, I kissed him hello, asked about his day, and even made his favorite dinner, salmon with lemon butter and roasted garlic. He smiled at me, maybe even smugly. He thought he was 10 steps ahead, but he didn't know that I'd already taken screenshots of everything, every document, every plan, every email attached to that meeting invite. That night, while he slept beside me, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Every memory of him replayed through a new lens. The time he helped me set up online banking, the way he'd always told me not to worry about tax statements, the reason he'd insisted our house title be in both our names for convenience. It wasn't convenience, it was strategy. The next morning, I called my best friend, Adira. She was a family lawyer, smart, relentless, and fiercely protective. We hadn't spoken deeply in months, but I didn't even need to explain everything before she said, "Come to my office, now." I told her everything, the transfers, the secret meeting, the fake smiles. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair, eyes sharp. "He's building a narrative," she said. He's probably trying to make it look like you're financially dependent and have no claim. But the fact that he's moving money from joint accounts, that's illegal if he's hiding marital assets before filing. So what do I do? You file first, she said simply, and you move the money before he can, legally. You're on the joint accounts. You have every right. It sounded ruthless. But then I thought of all the nights I'd stayed up working to help pay for our home, the sacrifices, the trust, and suddenly it didn't feel ruthless. It felt fair. Adira helped me draw up everything. We opened a new account under my name, transferred half of the joint funds, and filed the petition, quietly, efficiently, without him knowing. That weekend, Nolan was due for another conference trip. The morning he left, he kissed my forehead and said, "You're my calm, you know that." I smiled sweetly. I know. The moment his car disappeared, I got to work. I pulled every record, printed every document, and locked his office door behind me. That night, I slept for the first time in weeks. 2 days later, while he was still away, Adira filed the paperwork. I signed everything in her office, my hands trembling, not from fear, but from adrenaline. It was done. And then, fate handed me something poetic. The next morning, I got a call from a private courier confirming an appointment to deliver his divorce papers to me for signature. He had actually filed his own petition, assuming I was still clueless. I smiled as I gave them a new address. "Actually, could you deliver those to my attorney instead?" The day Nolan returned was the day his entire plan collapsed. I was waiting at his office, not our home. Adira stood beside me, holding a neatly stacked set of documents. Nolan walked in, smiling at first, until he saw us. Confusion flickered across his face. "Eve, what are you—" He didn't finish. A man in a suit approached him, the court server. "Mr. Wexler, you've been served." Nolan blinked, processing the words as he accepted the papers. I saw the exact moment realization hit. His eyes darted from me to Adira, then back. "You filed?" I nodded, my voice steady. "I found your drafts, Nolan. Every single one. You were going to take everything." His face tightened, the charm gone, replaced by something raw and venomous. "You don't know what you're doing," he hissed. "You just ruined your life." I smiled. "No, I just reclaimed it." Adira stepped forward then, her voice calm but cutting. "Mr. Wexler, we'll be reviewing your recent account activities. I suggest you prepare for a full financial audit. Any attempt to hide assets will be treated as fraud." He paled. "You can't prove—" "Actually," she said smoothly, "we already have." I turned to leave. "Enjoy your paperwork." That night, when I got home, the silence felt different. Not empty, but peaceful. I poured myself a glass of wine and opened the folder Adira had given me, a copy of the filing. My name, my signature, my decision. Over the following weeks, Nolan tried everything: calls, texts, guilt. He sent long messages about how I was overreacting, how he just wanted a clean break, how I was making this harder than it had to be. I didn't reply. The last message I ever read from him said, "You'll regret this. No one wins in divorce." But I did win. Not just the case, but myself. The court proceedings were short. Adira handled most of it. Every hidden account Nolan had opened came to light. Every manipulated statement, every lie, exposed. When the judge read the verdict, Nolan's empire of control crumbled. Half of the assets were granted to me, plus full ownership of the home he'd tried to claim was his investment. He sat there in silence as the judge finalized it. I didn't look at him. Not because I was angry, because he no longer mattered. Afterward, Adira and I walked out of the courthouse together. The sunlight felt different that day, sharp and new. She turned to me and said, "You know, you handled that better than most people ever could." I smiled faintly. He underestimated me. That was his mistake. Months later, I moved out of the city. I bought a small place by the coast, nothing grand, but mine. Every morning, I'd walk along the water, the salt air filling my lungs, the sound of waves washing away the echoes of his voice. One afternoon, while unpacking old boxes, I found a framed photo from our wedding, the two of us smiling under a canopy of flowers, the picture of happiness. I looked at it for a long moment, then placed it face down in the drawer. That night, I wrote a message in my journal, the kind of note I wished I'd told my younger self. Never hand over your freedom disguised as love. The person who truly loves you will never need to own you to keep you. The next morning, I received an email from Nolan, short, almost pathetic. You won. Hope you're happy. I deleted it without replying. Later that day, I met Adira for coffee. She smiled when she saw me. You look lighter, she said. I am, I replied, for the first time in years. As we talked, I realized something beautiful. Revenge hadn't healed me. Freedom had. I didn't need to ruin him further. Watching him ruin himself was enough. Some stories end with heartbreak. Mine ended with a lesson. The person you trust the most can also be the one who underestimates you the most. And when that happens, the best revenge isn't anger. It's walking away. When I signed the final paperwork, the clerk asked if I wanted to change my last name back. I didn't hesitate. Yes, I said, smiling. Eve Callan. It feels good to be myself again. And as I walked out of that courthouse, sunlight pouring through the glass doors, I felt the weight of every lie, every deception, every "don't worry about it" fall away. Because I hadn't just won a divorce, I'd won back my voice, and no one would ever silence it again.
You've just stepped into her revenge side, where every wound finds its justice, and every silence ends with truth. If her story struck a chord, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Another secret waits in the next video. See how her revenge begins.